At dawn, a shape hauls itself out of the river. 4 tons of muscle, hide, and bad temper. This is a hippopotamus, the animal that kills more people in Africa than lions, leopards, and buffalo combined. All night it has been grazing on land, cropping the grass in the dark. Now, as the sun comes up, it returns to the water's edge to rest. And right now, it is covered in things feeding on it. In the folds of its ears, around its small dark eyes, in the creases of its enormous legs, where the skin stays damp and soft. Ticks, leeches from the shallows, flies laying eggs in old scars. A body this big carries a whole ecosystem of hangers-on, and there is almost nothing it can do about them. It is too heavy, too stiff. Its legs are too short to reach its own back, its own neck, the deep folds it cannot even see. And then, out of the reeds, comes the one animal that can. It flies in low and lands on the hippo's broad back, gripping the wet grey hide with sharp little claws, bracing its stiff tail like a climber. A bird barely the size of your hand, standing on the deadliest giant in Africa. And it goes straight to work. It runs its flat red bill sideways across the skin, combing through the folds. It finds the first swollen tick, clamps down, and pulls until it tears free. A flick of the head, and it's gone. Then the next, and the next. A second bird drops down beside it, then a third. Soon a small crew of them is working the giant from end to end. One climbs into the great cracked ears and cleans them out. One works the corners of the eyes, where the flies gather to drink. Another moves down the neck, into the deep wet creases behind the legs, the places the hippo could never reach in 100 years. The giant barely reacts. An ear twitch, a slow, heavy blink. It simply lowers itself into the shallows and lets the little birds walk all over it. Everyone calls this bird the cleaner, and watching it work, you understand why. But watch a little longer, because there is another side to what it's doing, one no one talks about. This is the red-billed oxpecker, and to understand it, you have to look closely at what it actually chooses to eat. It does eat ticks, hundreds in a single day. But it doesn't want just any tick. Watch it ignore the small, flat, empty ones and go straight for the big ones, the ones already swollen dark with blood. The fuller the tick, the more the bird wants it, because the oxpecker isn't really after the pest, it's after what's inside it. Blood. And once it has the taste, it doesn't always wait for a tick to do the work. An oxpecker will find an old wound on the hippo's hide, a scar from a fight with a rival, a scratch, a half-healed sore, and it will keep it open, pecking, widening it, feeding, drop by drop, directly from its giant. As the bird works one of these raw patches, something strange happens. The skin around it begins to glisten red, as if the whole hide is starting to bleed. But it isn't blood. It is the hippo's own defense. A hippo's skin has almost no protection from the African sun and no ordinary sweat glands, so it secretes a thick, reddish oil that acts as both sunscreen and antiseptic, sealing scratches, killing bacteria, keeping the skin from cracking. People once believed hippos sweat blood. They don't. They sweat their own medicine. And the oxpecker is drinking through it. And the hippo makes an easy target. It lives 2 lives, grazing on land through the night, wallowing in the water through the day, and each world brings its own passengers. The land gives it ticks and biting flies. The water gives it leeches that fasten inside its nostrils, its ears, the soft skin of its mouth. Few animals are exposed to so much, from so many directions, with so little ability to reach any of it. For a small bird with a taste for blood, there is no richer place to live than the back of a hippopotamus. For years, people assumed these birds were pure medicine for the animals they ride. Then scientists actually counted. They compared animals carrying oxpeckers with animals that had none, and found something no one expected. The birds barely reduced the parasite load at all. What the hosts did have were wounds that stayed open longer and took more time to heal. The cleaner, it turns out, is also a parasite. It feeds on the very thing it is supposed to be cleaning. So this is the real relationship, not kindness, not a rescue. The oxpecker rides the hippo because the hippo is food and shelter and safety all in one. It takes the ticks, yes, but it also takes the dead skin, the flies, and the blood. It sleeps in the reeds above the water where the giant rests. It is not the giant's friend, and it is not its enemy. It is something older and colder than both, which sits strangely on an animal like this, because the hippo is not a gentle creature. Those jaws open nearly 2 feet wide and close with enough force to crush a crocodile in half. It has killed lions that came too close to the water. It will capsize a boat and drown everyone in it. On the river, a full-grown hippo answers to no one. And yet it lies here, in the open, and lets a blood-drinking bird walk across its eyes. Why? Because the oxpecker does one thing this giant cannot do for itself. It watches. A hippo has small eyes set high on a massive head and poor vision on land. Out of the water, in daylight, it is enormously powerful and half-blind. And it has one weakness that all its strength cannot cover: her calf. A newborn hippo is not 4 tons of armor. It is small and slow and soft, and everything on the river knows it. Crocodiles wait in the shallows for it. Lions and hyenas test the banks at dusk. Even rival male hippos will kill a calf that isn't theirs. The mother will fight any of them to the death, but she cannot fight what she cannot see, and she cannot watch every direction at once. But the bird on her back can. From up there, the oxpecker sees the whole shoreline, every shape in the reeds, every ripple that shouldn't be there. All day it rides her, feeding, drinking, keeping its own quiet watch. And one evening, as the light goes gold and then grey, it sees something the mother does not. A crocodile, long and still, and easing out of the deep water toward the calf dozing at the edge of the shallows. No splash, no sound. The mother is turned away, half asleep in the warm mud. She has no idea it is there, but the bird does. The oxpecker flattens against her back and screams, a harsh, hissing alarm that cuts across the water. The mother is up in an instant. She sees the shape and she charges, jaws gaping, throwing up a wall of spray, a roar that scatters birds from the far bank. The crocodile twists away and vanishes into the deep. The calf scrambles, shaking, back to her side. The bird that drinks her blood has just saved her child. And as full dark comes down and the danger only grows, that same small passenger stays with her, riding the most dangerous animal on the river, screaming down every shape that moves too close to the young one. The wound it opened this morning is the price. The warning it gives at dusk is what that price buys. This is the thing the word partnership hides. In the wild, help and harm are rarely separate. The oxpecker cleans the hippo and feeds on her. It guards her calf and drinks her blood. It is not her friend, and it is not her enemy. It is something the language of kindness has no word for, a bargain, where each takes what it needs, and both, somehow, come out ahead. The deadliest animal in Africa carries a small red-billed passenger on her back for her entire life. She feeds it, she bleeds for it, and in exchange, that passenger may be the reason her calf lives long enough to grow into a giant of its own. Nature doesn't deal in heroes, it deals in what works. This has been Paws and Claws. If you want more of the wild's uncomfortable truths, the partnerships that aren't quite what they seem, subscribe, and we'll show you the next one.